Hello, and welcome to Sunday mornings at MABA on Zoom and Facebook. Join us every week, 9:15 to 11:30 a.m. If you'd like a reminder email, please email danshushu@cbt-stl.com.
Good morning, Master. Good morning, Venerables. Good morning, friends. How are you this morning? Hope everybody is fine and well, healthy, happy, peaceful. Well, I was going to show a picture with the pandemic all over the world. Like we have this picture that got all the red dots with like North America, Europe, Asia, all over the world. I got these red dots that, showing what happened that the COVID-19 hit. And you can see, United States, it's condensed it with red dots, Europe, and part of Asia. Then I would like to give you guys some numbers, with the world meter tracker. So far, up to last week, my data are up to last week. Worldwide, we have 460 million people got infected with the COVID-19 virus, with 6 million people died from the virus, 61 million still active cases around the world. And in the United States, we have 81 million people got infected, 991,000 people died from the virus. 24 million active cases still exist. So this is worldwide and also the United States. In New York alone, the first wave, which is between March 2020 till April 21, the peak season or time of the pandemic, the highest daily case is 20,000 positive. Highest daily death is 1,020. That is reported in April 17th. Hospitals and medical clinics were over-occupied and exceed their capacity of handling the sick and the death. Corpses were disposed into refrigerated trucks and designated areas. So that was the first wave. Second wave, which is between July 2020 to March 2022, the highest daily case, 87,900, which was reported in January 6th of 2022. Highest daily death, it's $400. So when you look at New York, we're seeing that, first wave, we have less people got infected, but more people die from the disease. Second wave, we have more people got infected and less, death rate. That is because of the vaccination, and that is because, the variants from the original disease or virus that come down to like Delta and also the Omicron. So it's less fatal. California, first wave, highest daily case is 63,400, reported December 16th. Highest death is 748, reported January 21st, 2020. Second wave, we have like 138,000 infected. 298 deaths. So those are the numbers at the peak of the pandemic. The WHO said that 1 in 6 COVID patients become serious ill and has difficulty breathing. So I have some pictures that when a person gets serious ill, he or she is going to be put in the ventilation or the ventilator. Okay, the ventilation for COVID-19 is a painful intubation that goes down the throat and stay there until the patient lived or died. It is done under anesthesia for 2 to 3 weeks without moving, often upside down, with a tube insert from the mouth to the trachea and allows you to breathe to the rhythm of the lung machine. So imagine, I can't see the picture, imagine that tube that's stuck into the mouth, inside the throat, all the way up to the lung. The patient cannot talk or eat or do anything naturally. The machine keeps you alive. The discomfort and pain they feel from this means medical experts have to administer sedatives or painkillers to ensure the tolerance for as long as the machine is needed. This is like being in an artificial coma. Now, adding to that, because the patient cannot function normally like eating and get any nutriment, they add a tube into the stomach so that, or through the nose, so that they can feed the patient with liquid food. Here is a paragraph that written by a nurse who works in the ventilators. She said, "Here you go, folks. For those people who don't understand what it means to be on a ventilator but want to take the chance of going back to work." This is at the peak when she wrote this. "For starters, it is not an oxygen mask put over the mouth while the patient is comfortably lying down and reading magazines. That is not the case. Ventilation for COVID-19 is a painful intubation." We just went through that, okay? So it is said that a young patient who is put on the ventilator for 20 days loses 40% of the muscle mass and get mouth or vocal cord trauma, as well as possibly pulmonary or heart complications. It is for this reason that old or already weak people cannot withstand the treatment and die. And many of us are in this boat. So she advised, stay safe unless you want to take the chance of ending up here. Okay, that is her advice. So I would like everybody to close your eyes. Imagine you're the patient and you are told that you're going to be on the ventilator. Imagine or think about, what happened that I just described. Now you're being inserted a tube. It's going through your mouth, through the throat, all the way to the lung. Okay, so quickly write down a few words, 6 to 7 words, come to your mind. Describe how you feel. We'll come back to that, okay? Hopefully that Corey or Francesca, do you mind collecting those data? You know, people writing on the chat or on a piece of paper, if you guys don't mind. So in the meantime, I would like to share a little bit about the impacts. Unemployment doubled from 3.6% in 1919 to 6.7 in 2020. Okay, now it drops back to about 3.9, which is a good thing. And I have a picture showing miles of homeless in Los Angeles. Then as of December 20th, 2021, roughly 80,000 restaurants have temporarily or permanently closed since the start of the pandemic. This is the estimate from the National Restaurant Association. The COVID-19 pandemic had profound impact on the US aviation industry. Passengers travel in April 2020 was 96% lower than April a year ago. And now it stays 60% below the 2019 level. So effects cascaded across airport, repair shops, and supply chains. Now, I know that personally because, you know, my son got laid off in the middle of 2020. He didn't get a job back until, you know, recently. So you can see pictures of airplanes lined up on the fields of airports. Didn't go anywhere, can't go anywhere. Other impacts. Isolation from family and friends are very difficult. There are social disorders. People are going to the shops, just grab things. In California, if the value that you get is lower than $900, you're not being charged. So you can go to the shop and take goods or products under $900 and you're free to go. Okay, depression. Families can get, you know, to see each other. I have a son who is I have a friend's son who is a doctor. They can only see their parents from outside the driveway for months because they're medical workers, front-end workers. I have friends that, you know, they're not to or scared to go to clinics, doctor's office for medical help. They end up with more serious illness because not being able to see the doctor and get help on time. So let's come back. Can somebody, Corey or friend, did you collect the data? What words have you collected?
Gagging,
Okay.
fear,
Okay.
fear, panic,
Okay.
flight,
Okay.
wanting to run, choking.
Okay.
For me, it was being afraid because I was sick enough to be on a ventilator, that kind of fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Any other suggestion? I write down some words too. Fear. So scary. Pain. You know, think about the tube sticking in the throat. Pain. Angry. Why? Why this happened to me? Why all these disease? very angry, despair, sorrow, and helplessness, right? So all these words sum up to one word. Guess what? Dukkha. Agree? Dukkha, dukkha, dukkha. So dukkha, the first noble truth, sometimes translating as suffering, incapable of satisfying, unsatisfactory nature, and the general insecurity of all conditioned phenomena, painful, ultimately unsatisfactory nature of temporary state of things. Those are some definitions or explanation for the word dukkha. The first noble truth. Because of impermanence, dukkha arises. I wish I can show you the slide that I did. So the Buddha's teaching, in brief, he said that attachment to the five aggregate is dukkha. And dukkha includes a lot of words that we just described: despair, grief, pain, lamentation, sorrow, association with the dislike, separation from the liked or dear, not getting what we want. Most important thing is birth, aging, sickness, and death. So dukkha, the first noble truth, we all know, what are the four noble truths, right? Dukkha, samudaya, nirodha, and magga. Okay, those are the four noble truths. How do we practice? We have to understand, truly know, face it, accept it. As far as dukkha goes, we have to face the dukkha, we have to accept the dukkha, we have to understand dukkha. Now, the cause of origination, we have to cut it off. The only way is to cut the cause off, that we are free from dukkha. The next one, the nirodha, we have to realize it, experience it, try to reach to the state. And then magga, the path, we need to practice. So this is how to practice the Four Noble Truths. When I prepare the talk, I separate dukkha into two categories. One, I call it physical. The other one, I call it mental. Now, whether physical or mental, we can also categorize in three kind of sections. One is what we call suffering of suffering, 苦苦. The other one is called suffering of change. And then the next one is the pervasive suffering, okay? Suffering of suffering, this is the one that I would like to focus on the talk. Mainly the aggregate of form: birth, sickness, old age, pain, ache, spasm, suffocation, all the unpleasant bodily sensation, all the misery of the lower realms. That is the suffering of suffering. Now, the aggregate of the form belongs to the group of pervasive suffering. That means if we have this mind and body, sorry, we suffer, okay? Mental part, if I have a chance to do talk again, then I'll get into that. But today, focus dukkha on the physical part of it, because we were talking about the difficult time when the pandemic opened, when the pandemic exists, and how will we tackle them. now we know that it's a little bit quieting down, but how do we tackle them if it lingers, if it comes back again? Okay, so dukkha of the physical form, we have to understand what is this physical form. It is the aggregate, it is the composition of the 4 elements. And I know that everybody is very familiar with that: earth, water, fire, and wind. So that is on the surface that we understand. What we need to do is to observe the quality, the characteristic of these elements. First of all, the earth element, its solidity, its attractive force, smoothness, softness, heaviness, lightness, roughness, fineness. Water, liquidity, motion, adhesiveness, bonding actually. Fire element, heat, energy, coldness, maturing. Okay, it kind of push or helps things to get mature. Wind element is supportive. It's a driving force, expansion, repulsive force. Actually, the pulmonary system, the breathing is part of the wind element. Francesca just say that when she did the guiding, mindfulness of incoming breath, outgoing breath. That is the function of the wind element. And there is more subdivision, or we can see a finer or more detailed description of these 4 elements. All these elements, the physical form, what we call the physical matter, it's something called rupa kalapa, meaning that is the smallest unit of the physical particle, which is about 1 to 46,656 of the size of a particle of dust. Okay, that tiny, that small. So the kalapas consist of 4 elements, and also, some what we call the 4 elements are the predominant, elements, qualities, but there are 4 other secondary properties that derive from the primaries, which are color, smell, taste, and nutrition. So in the contemporary Buddhist meditation practice, the observation and analysis of kalapas is a type of vipassana practice that aims to allow direct observation of impermanence and non-self. Because when we are observing the kalapas, we know that they are making up of the 4 elements, and each functions differently. So when we really observe it into detail, we understand that, this is what we call so-called self. It's nothing but the composition of the 4 elements with its different characteristics. Now, I would like to share with you, there are 12 characteristics when we do the meditation that we can contemplate on, okay? I can send you my slides so that you can take a look on that. I would like to mention one thing is about the water element. For the earth, fire, wind, we can observe that like their solidity, the heat, the coldness, the driving force, in and out breath. But the water element, we have 2 parts. One is that when we observe it, these are all during meditation, because, unless we have a supernatural eye. So the water element, if we observe it, say the blood, okay, as part of the liquid inside the body, right? If we observe that, if we only see the connection of one drop of blood connected to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, then we are observing only the image of that water element. What we need to observe down to the very bottom is to observe its adhesiveness. That means its main function is to bound or put together all the other three elements. That is eventually what we need to observe. Okay, the best way to cope with difficult times, I have 4 more minutes to go, to overcome the dukkha. What do we do? First, we need to understand the root cause. Truly know what happened within the frame of the body. You know, what's going on with this physical form. Face it. Don't avoid or deny. Accept the reality of facts. What are the reality of facts? It's not going to stay forever. It's going to change. Anicca, anicca, anicca. And then how to resolve it? Let's find the resolution and work on it. So understand the facts of the body. That is, you know, the composition of all the kalpas, you know, to the tiniest particles. Actually, one kalapas, they have 8 atoms. Okay, if you want to dissect into the very, very bottom to the end of it, sorry, can't. There is no ending of it. And there is no beginning of it. So we truly know the function of the elements, how they function within, you know, the body itself. We have to face it. When we are sick, we can't breathe, we're about to put on the ventilator. Understand that the elements are in balance, because we have to have the balance of all the elements to have a healthy body. We accept that all compositional phenomena are temporarily existence. So how to resolve it? We have to keep on practice. We don't just come to a Dharma talk and learn, oh, all these beautiful words, terms. We have to actually practice to the point that it becomes the nature of ourselves. So when we are about to be put on the ventilator, we know that our practice works. It doesn't take overnight or blink of the eye or just chanting, you know, Amita Buddha or anything at the critical moment won't help. This is the accumulation of practice. And also, there are many cases of the patient that maintain low, slow, and steady breath. They can get out of the ventilator. I mean, they can, you know, avoid, you know, to be put in the ventilator. You know, we can go to the news and see that. You know, there are many cases showing that. Because when the elements are in balance, we can breathe easier. Okay? And if the situation that we can avoid, we have to understand that this life is only a temporary period of the long time. Okay, over and over and over and over. So face the fact of anicca, anicca, anicca. Now, the next one, the next slide that I have is talking about equanimity. Not only the elements has to balance physically, mentally, we do need equanimity. But I'll save that, you know, for when we get to the mental factors and all those. I have a quote saying that, not from me, you know, I got it from the internet. Without rain, nothing grows. Learn to embrace the storm of our lives. I'm 1 minute over. Just one more minute. Okay, I only talk about the pandemic issues. And I know that there are war going on, the Ukraine war and others. I don't know much as a very ordinary housewife. I don't know much about the international affairs, but I'll only understand that don't be the person, a group, or country who ignites the fire of conflicts among people, regions, or countries because of our own benefit or political, financial, benefit. Don't become the favorable condition that cause conflicts, because if we do, we're pouring oil onto the fire. Eventually, we ourselves will get burned. And I understand that. As far as for my limited knowledge, this is the law of nature. This is the law of cause and effect. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be liberated. May all beings be healthy.